Welcome to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show. Each month, broadcaster, author, and media consultant Sandie Sedgbeer and naturopathic medical doctor, researcher, and global health educator Dr. Donese Warden bring you the latest news and research from leading-edge science and new integrative medicine to help you outsmart cancer, chronic disease, aging, and more. Here's your hosts, Dr. Donese Warden and Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello and welcome to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show, co-hosted by me, Sandie Sedgbeer.
And by me, Dr. Donese Warden. And this month we're going to be discussing detoxification for many health conditions, including weight loss, liver health, and improving overall energy. And according to the Centers for Disease Control, over 80% of all illnesses have environmental and lifestyle causes. 1 in 4 Americans are said to be suffering from some level of heavy metal poisoning, asthma, cancer, chronic fatigue syndrome, and we could go on, just naming many of the conditions that are strongly associated by influences by environmental toxins.
So, detoxing the body is taking on greater significance in the fight to maintain our health and well-being. But not all the methods being touted for detoxification are equal.
That's correct, Sandie. And detoxification for our children and for ourselves is imperative. But I think we're going to be very excited tonight talking about an amazing way to clean and heal the body. And it's called infrared saunas. Many people are familiar with the words far infrared, but in fact there are several types, including far, near, full spectrum, and on this show tonight we'll be discussing the differences. And that's why we've invited Dr. Raleigh Duncan to join us. And I met Dr. Duncan at an integrated cancer symposium in Baltimore this year, and I was just fascinated with his depth of knowledge pertaining to full spectrum infrared saunas. So, Sandie, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Dr. Duncan?
Happy to. Dr. Raleigh Duncan is a manufacturing consultant, a chiropractor, and health educator who, after observing firsthand the benefits of infrared therapy with his patients, developed the unique and proprietary low EMF ELF infrared heaters and manufacturing processes used to produce jacuzzi infrared saunas, and he founded the company Clearlight Saunas. Dr. Duncan has consulted about infrared therapy and worked with notable health practitioners such as Dr. Brian Clement, Dr. Williams, Dr. Whitaker, Dr. McCullough, Dr. Frank Lipman, Dr. George Yu, and of course, Dr. Warden. Dr. Raleigh Duncan, welcome to Truth in Medicine.
Thank you, Sandie. Happy to be here.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you, Dr. Duncan. I thought we might start out. Why don't you explain the basics of how an infrared sauna works?
Okay, that's relatively an easy, good place to start. So everyone is familiar with what we call a traditional sauna, a Finnish sauna, the type that you walk in and it's got a box of hot rocks in the corner. Most everyone's been in one of those. And that works by heating the air up. And the air is heated to 200, 220 degrees Fahrenheit. You go in, you sit down, and you try and climb higher into the sauna to get the heat. And many people find it difficult to stay in because of the high heat is burning their lungs, and maybe they put a cloth over their nose to try and stay in. And that's been used by many cultures for millennia as a way of healing and staying healthy. So infrared sauna is something I discovered over 20 years ago, and infrared saunas work differently. Instead of having a device, a box of hot rocks heating the air to this high temperature, when you walk into the infrared sauna and sit down, you're surrounded, hopefully on all sides, with infrared panels that are in the wall. And infrared comes out as a wavelength, travels through the air, penetrates into the soft tissue, and warms you up directly. But the air temperature stays pretty comfortable to breathe. Now, the first thing people will say is, well, infrared, is that safe? So we give off infrared from our body. That's how you can see people running, at night or this type of thing. So it's very safe, and it amplifies the body's own healing energy. So basically, that's in a nutshell, the difference between the two types of sauna, the traditional and the infrared.
Dr. Duncan, I'm not somebody who sweats easily, and I've never been able to tolerate traditional saunas. But about 10 years ago, I was introduced to far infrared saunas, which I found to be much more comfortable. However, I'm now hearing that far infrared may not be quite as good as I thought it was, and I'd be better off using a full spectrum sauna. So can you explain what the difference is?
Sure. And we are familiar and also have designed and distribute both far infrared and full spectrum saunas. So I can break it down pretty easily. So far infrared, like I said, very close to what the body puts out, and it's a wavelength that our body understands. And it penetrates into the body, and we actually have tuned our heaters, and a lot of my work over the last 20 years is finding which wavelengths heal the body, how does that work, and how can we detoxify. So far infrared, because it is in the same wavelength that we put out, it allows us to have what is called a resonant frequency happening in the body and in the cells of the body to aid in detoxification. And so it's a very simple concept. It's a vibration. So I guess I'm going to date myself, and very quickly, I don't know if anyone remembers, there used to be a commercial for a Memorex cassette tape. Now I'm really dating myself. And it was, is it Live or is it Memorex? And so Ella Fitzgerald would sing a note to break a glass, all right? Just a very good wine glass or goblet, crystal. And if you ever want to try this, here's the method. And this is going to explain resonant frequency. You take the wine glass and you hold it by the bottom of the stem, and you take your fingernail and you ping it. And when you ping the glass, it will give off a note. So that's the resonant note of the wine glass, and that's the same note that you give back to the wine glass. And if you can give it with enough clarity and enough power, soon the wine glass will begin to shake. It will vibrate, and then it will shatter. So back in the 70s, Japanese researchers and scientists, Kabaya and Inoue, they figured out that using infrared, it's a wavelength that's the same, relatively as a sound wavelength, and there's infrared spectroscopy that's used to vibrate different materials. So what they figured out is this resonant frequency, if you put the right wavelengths into the body, would get the cells to vibrate, the water molecules, and that aids in getting the toxins out of the cells into the interstitial fluid so it can be eliminated. So that's the strength of far infrared. So when people say, oh, far infrared, that's no good, it's actually not true. And that's the reason. Now we move on to mid-infrared. And as we move up the ladder, we're actually shortening the wavelength. And mid-infrared also has this effect of the resonant frequency, but it's been shown to have good wound healing properties, things like this. Then there's near infrared. So when I take these three wavelengths together, far infrared, mid-infrared, near infrared, that would be called a full spectrum. So near infrared is very unique because it's the shortest wavelength in the infrared spectrum, and it penetrates deeper into the body than the other two wavelengths. And that's because, and this is very important, near infrared is not captured by water. It doesn't make the water molecule or water itself vibrate, so it can penetrate deep into the body and heat the core. So what we do is we will put all three of these together in one heater, and then you're getting all the benefits. So you're getting a detoxification, you're heating the core, there's benefit to the skin, and that's happening all at once. So every single sauna that we have has the option to put this full spectrum heating in there. So I hope that kind of explains it in just a couple minutes there.
It was a great
does.
job.
Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners will appreciate that. But here's something that we all know as well, and especially you, Dr. Duncan, and I've been, a proponent of infrared saunas for many, many years myself and for my patients. But the quality of the wood is very important, because if you're releasing toxins from that wood, and also talk to us about low EMF and ELT, why we need to say, listen, don't get the cheapest model out there. They need to understand the difference.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so wood is very important. You have a lot of people out there saying that cedar wood is toxic. And so I've been doing this for 22 years, and I have yet to see any study that has shown toxicity to cedar wood. What I've seen is studies of people that worked in cedar sawmills and breathed in cedar dust for 20 years, and some of them would develop respiratory problems. I don't recommend that. But if they were in any type of sawmill, breathing in any kind of dust, or in an agricultural area, it has the same effect. So that's, for me, we still sell cedar saunas because we believe it's one of the best woods to make a sauna out of. And it's a beautiful wood, and it's a softer wood, which means it's a little more comfortable as you sit in there. And then there's people who are hypoallergenic. Maybe they have environmental sensitivities. And for that, we make all our saunas also can be purchased with basswood. And basswood is one of the best hypoallergenic woods out there. But that's a very small percentage of the population, and this would be people that, are so hypersensitive. Maybe if you walk in a room and you have just shampooed your hair, they might have a reaction to that. And so these people, it's very serious, and detoxification will definitely help them, because we find that toxicity, as you know, is at the root cause of many illnesses, environmental illnesses as well.
Right.
Yes.
Can I jump in there too, though? I'm wondering about the wood that some of the other manufacturers and types use. How are they treating them? Is the wood itself, can it be toxic from just the treatment?
It can
or
be,
is it
but
just
okay. Yeah, it's some people use toxic glues or toxic varnishes, or there can be things in the sauna. So an infrared sauna is something that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So it's not a time to skimp and get, buy the very cheapest, because then you'll run into problems. And that kind of leads me into what we've done, and it's sort of an understanding of EMF, ELF. That's something that's near and dear to my heart, because it was a cause that we took on, I guess it's been 8-9 years. And we've been evolving our heater systems around that principle of resonant frequency to make the heaters the very best wavelengths for healing the human body. So we're in probably our 12th generation heater. So what we started with 22 years ago is not the same type of heater. So really quickly, there was what most of the saunas, infrared saunas, are made with now is a flat panel carbon type heater, and that gives off a good wavelength. But when I first saw those, my first appearance of seeing that type of heater, I measured the EMF in milligauss on those heaters at 100 milligauss, which is extremely high.
Right.
And so if most people have heard about EMF, and mostly around cell phones, that you shouldn't hold cell phones up to your ears, and that your microwave, if you're still using that, puts out a lot, and different electrical appliances. So 100 milligauss is way off the charts. The World Health Organization says not to expose yourself to any more than 3 milligauss for prolonged periods of time. So it took us about 3 years to figure out how to silence that, because I really wanted these heaters. No one was really using them for saunas, but I knew that they had excellent profile for healing in the frequencies, in the wavelengths. So we were the first ones to introduce that, and we changed the whole industry. So that's what you want to look for, is make sure that whatever infrared sauna you're looking at, that it has low EMF, and that's the magnetic portion that is measured in milligauss. And then going past that, we started finding that some of our clients were sensitive to what is known as ELF, which is extra light fields, and that's measured in volts per meter. So it took a little while, and we figured out a way to reduce that down to safe levels. Again, citing World Health Organization down to 1 volt per meter, 1,000 millivolts. So we're currently much, much lower than that, where it started at about 20,000. So we're still continuing to find ways, if there's anything to make the sauna work more efficiently, to heal the body more efficiently, to make it safer. It's an ongoing process. So that's, sorry if I went on and on, but that explains the EMF, ELF. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You're listening to What is Going On's Truth in Medicine show. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer.
And I'm Dr. Donese Warden. And tonight we're discussing the benefits of detoxing for weight loss, overall health. And come back. Dr. Duncan is not finished. We've got many more questions.
Yeah, we'll be back, especially after the break, with what health conditions saunas can help with. Stay tuned.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hello, this is Dr. Donese Warden, and I'm excited to tell you about homeopathic injections from Hebert Pharmaceuticals. I utilize them in my practice for pain, inflammation, depression, and other medical conditions. I'm achieving excellent results, and I've seen no adverse reactions. I encourage you to explore these novel treatments.
Call Hebert today at 855-387-6466 to find a practitioner in your area to administer these FDA-registered medications. 855-387-6466.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
My name is Meera Batra, and this is How I Live United. Many families have come to America for a better life. I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to see opportunities available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools and network within the community. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunity and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Dr. Raleigh Duncan, I think many people understand that they can detoxify with saunas, but I don't think they understand quite how many conditions and ailments it can help with. So tell us a little bit about it, and also about some of the studies that have been done around weight loss.
Okay. Well, let me start with toxicity, because what we're finding out, and I know in your show this has been a big topic, that Many conditions are caused by the toxic burden that many people carry. It's been shown that average people have over 200 chemicals in their body that are residing. So this can result in autoimmune conditions and many conditions that the problem is really, until you get the toxins out, you won't be able to be healthy. So some of the studies that are looking promising, showing toxicity, there are many studies that have been done called BUS, so that's blood, urine, and sweating. And my favorite research is Dr. Stephen Genuis out of Canada, and he's shown that in these studies that in what you do is you're taking sweat samples. And in many cases that what comes out in the sweat is more than what is detoxifying in other ways. So that flame retardant, polychlorinated bisphenols, and different, even there was another study that came out, cone, this was excretion of trace metals in human sweat. So we know that the skin being the largest organ of the body, it's another pathway for detoxification. And so getting in the infrared sauna is definitely going to help with that. So the conditions that we see that improve with using the sauna, detoxification, anything related to that is going to be helped. And then many conditions, as important as the detoxification, is that putting people into a parasympathetic or relaxation state. So when infrared comes in, there's a vasodilation. So that's just a fancy name for that the blood vessels open up and more oxygenated blood is flowing through the system. Most everybody I meet these days is in a fight or flight or sympathetic tone. Their body feels that it's being chased by a tiger. So when you get in the infrared sauna, you're going to go from that state into a parasympathetic or relaxed state. And the body, as you both know, is extremely wise and won't put a lot of energy into healing if it thinks it's being chased by a tiger. So I always put that in as important as the detoxification is to allow the body to relax and to heal. So weight loss is a condition that we were very interested in because we kept hearing from people with our saunas that they were losing weight, and we couldn't really figure that out, and it was just anecdotal. And so we were approached by SUNY, University of New York in Binghamton, and worked with them with our saunas, and they did two studies. One was a 16-week study where we had a control group of people that did not use the sauna, another group of people that went into the sauna 3 times a week for 45 minutes. And after that 16-week study, they were measured for body fat before and after, and there was a 4% average body fat over that 16-week study. So we found that to be very interesting, and we also found that people that used the sauna in the afternoon had a greater loss of body fat. So then we did a phase 2 with Binghamton University where we upped it a little to 5 times per week for 30 minutes and went for only 8 weeks. But the caveat was that you had to take the sauna after 3 p.m. And so in the 8-week study, there was also a 4% reduction of body fat over 8 weeks. So we think how this works is that if you take the infrared sauna, you're going to boost your metabolism, but also in the afternoon you're going to boost your HGH, your human growth hormone, very naturally. So that was very interesting and verified what we'd been seeing, and this is borne out over many, many years. So very interesting.
It is interesting. Are there new studies, or do you plan new studies to prove that HGH piece? Or have you already
We don't have
seen
any
that?
plan. We haven't planned any studies. We're in the midst of some other studies looking at heart rate variability, HRV,
right.
Things of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always ongoing to see what happens. So in this thermogenesis, in this heating of the body, you're going to get a boost of the immune system. That just happens. You know, the body naturally will produce a fever, and so that's going to happen. There are many conditions that will react to that, and so it's the body. I've always felt what we're trying to do is we're not curing anything. What we're doing is we're working with the body to help it to heal itself. Ultimately, that is the aim and goal.
Right. I know what your manufacturers claim, though. I mean, the other conditions like muscle pain relief, people want that immune system. You know, improving the appearance of cellulite. These are things that you're allowed to say as a manufacturer because there's enough science behind it. Am I correct?
There is a tremendous amount of research. If you want to see something amazing, just put infrared sauna in a Google. Right. Put infrared sauna research, and it's well, the thing about it is infrared's been used for decades and decades and decades as an adjunctive therapy used by doctors, chiropractors, and physical therapists to relieve pain, which you talked about, and also to increase flexibility. And then you add the saunas on top of that. There was another really landmark study that came out of Finland showing a direct relationship. And this was a very long study, 2,500 people over 20 years, and showed that using the sauna, now this wasn't an infrared sauna, it was a regular sauna, it came out of Finland, direct correlation with the amount of times that you'll use the sauna during the week will reduce significantly sudden cardiac death. In other words, if you only use it a couple times, it helped, but if you used a sauna 5 times a week, your percentage of dying and sudden cardiac. So I upped my sauna usage after seeing that.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's just amazing, and you know, patients get very excited about that because they know it's about their health. But, you know, improving skin and cellulite, then that's the part of us that wants to look as good as we can as well. And I just think it's amazing that, you know, we've got technologies that's working on all of it.
Yes. But the great thing about the sauna, the infrared sauna, is it's so easy. You know, it's one thing if you've got to eat a diet that is just made up of something you don't even want to eat, and you've got to work out 2 hours a day and do all these very strenuous things. That can be challenging to keep that going. But to say, well, 3 times a week, just get in the sauna for a half an hour, play some music or maybe an audio book, or just relax in there, leave your cell phone someplace else, and just do that. And if you'll do that, you'll have a much greater chance of, it's been shown, 60% chance of beating dementia and 60% chance of not having a stroke. And this was this came out at the Global Wellness Summit by presentation by a chief wellness officer of Cleveland Clinic. So now we're going mainstream. So we're not in the alternative category. Isn't that something?
It's
amazing.
Yeah,
we love that, don't we? So yeah.
Dr. Duncan,
hang in there long enough, it'll happen.
That's right.
Why?
They can't deny it for too long.
That's right.
Why do you put coloured lights in some of your saunas?
Well, we put them in all of our saunas, and really the chromotherapy is an interesting adjunctive therapy. My feeling now is that as long as I've got someone sitting in a sauna with little or no clothes on, let's see what else we can do for them, okay? So, you know, you're sitting there, we've got your attention, let's see if there's some other healing that can happen at the same time. So for people that live in colder climates where the sun doesn't shine, the blue LED helps very much with seasonal affective disorder. The red is, many people say that it helps boost their energy. So what I do when I go in the sauna, I just run it on automatic. It runs through all 12 colors, and I figure I'm gonna hit all the bases. So chromotherapy is it's a wavelength. It's just another energy coming in the body, and the body's smart enough to take it and use it where it can, and if it can't, it will leave it and just move on. So
and I appreciate the fact that you look at all of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you something, and this will be
music.
The first announcement.
The fact that you've got music pumping into there.
Oh yeah. You know. Well, we have music, and then we have vibration, sound vibration under the bench, so you can actually feel that. And we're about to introduce halo therapy into the sauna as well. So lots going on right now.
Can you tell us more about that?
Stopping. Well, we have partnered with a German company, Klafs, K-L-A-F-S. That's a big traditional German sauna manufacturer. They don't really get into the infrared so much, and they bought out a Dutch company, Microsalt, a few years ago. And this is I'm sure you're familiar with halo therapy, the salt therapy, where they found that people that worked in the Eastern European mines didn't get respiratory problems. So this puts out, it has to be the right size of salt. So this grinds the salt in a machine that hangs on the wall. It's very good looking. And then as you're sitting there, you're breathing in this micro salt.
We're just getting some interference there.
Are we?
Very interesting.
Yeah. Will that be available if people decide that we cannot wait, got to have that sauna right now? Are you going to be able to add that in later?
Yes, it will be. Actually, you can add it into any sauna that we've sold for the last 22. In fact, you can add it to any sauna that you have. In fact, it's actually rechargeable. It hangs on the wall. It's a fantastic unit. It's not inexpensive, I will say. So just be forewarned, but it's German technology or Dutch technology. So, but it works very well. I've been looking at these for years, and it's fantastic.
You know, a question I get, they say, well, how big are they? And I say there's a one person, and it goes all the way up to, I love the new one you got, that you can actually take the bench out and do yoga. So talk a little bit about that, if you would, those sizes.
So we're in California, and early on, we had to find ways. A lot of houses out here, we don't have a lot of space. And then we started selling into Manhattan, and it was even worse. So we came up with a few one-person saunas, and it's very nice. It still has all the features and the low EMF, low ELF, the chromotherapy and everything. But we'll go up into 2-person, 3-person, 4-person, 5-person, the larger saunas, and then the yoga sauna, which is truly unique. Yeah, you take the benches out, the floor is heated, the heaters go down to the floor, and you can do your yoga stretches. That's been very popular. So we try to make a sauna for everyone, and then we also do custom saunas. We did the Miami Dolphins workout room recently and have done some big hotels, so we can do that also. It's just wherever infrared's needed, we want to be there.
Dr. Duncan, tell us where people can buy these saunas. And, more importantly, how do they know how to get the best value for their money?
Well, how to get the best value for their money is to buy a sauna from a reputable manufacturer and look at the low EMF, look at the, the history of the company, and look at the warranty as well. And who designed this company? Was this designed by, Joe Blow somewhere? Or, we have the only doctor-designed saunas available today, and then we give a warranty that's a lifetime warranty. And a limited lifetime warranty, so I'm taking care of saunas that we sold 15 years ago. That's very important because you'll have your sauna for the rest of your life. So we are infraredsauna.com, and so it's very easy to find us, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone had, just about different questions that arise with the infrared sauna.
And so, Sandie, I'll say the reason, because I've never been a distributor for saunas because, there were questions that I had, and because I wanted this for my patients, I've actually become a distributor for them, for Clearlight Sauna. So they can, and I appreciate that because this is something that I can provide for my patients, and along with Dr. Raleigh, to be able to say, what is the best sauna for you and what type. But I have I believe in what Dr. Raleigh and Jacuzzi and Clear Light Sauna has done, and the cleanliness and the efficacy and the studies that they're doing. So I definitely support them.
Well, I know from personal experience, Dr. Warden, how rigorous you are in your research, and if you recommend something, then, you know, that's good for me.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah.
If I were going to buy a sauna, I would buy one from Dr. Warden, because you would get one of our saunas, but then you'd also get Dr. Warden in the mix. So I think that's the best of all worlds.
Be that good and bad, but
isn't it?
I'm going to tell you like it is, that's for sure.
That's really great.
Little piece of added value there.
Well,
there's a lot of value.
You know, well, in your years of experience with this, you know, I've been a proponent, and I've had my patients buying and doing infrared saunas for many years. But when I saw the science and talked to you about what you had going on, you know, I'm in the middle of putting in a new floor in one of my rooms in my home for the brand new one of your brand new saunas. So I've actually switched out my old sauna and getting ready for mine. I wish I had room for the yoga one. I really do. But I'm getting one. It's a 3-person size because I like to lay down. And so you can still stretch out into one person, but I really think that's worth it, being able to move and lay down if you're in that parasympathetic state. So
yes, 3-person's a good size. It's one of my favorites.
Well, we're going to have to go to the break in a couple of seconds. I would really like to thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Duncan, and giving us the benefit of your experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Great being with you. Yes.
You're listening to What Is Going On's Truth in Medicine show. We'll be back after the break with more from Dr. Warden and myself on detoxification. Stay tuned.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, this is Dr. Donese Warden, and I'm excited to tell you about homeopathic injections from Hevert Pharmaceuticals. I utilize them in my practice for pain, inflammation, depression, and other medical conditions. I'm achieving excellent results, and I've seen no adverse reactions. I encourage you to explore these novel treatments.
Call Hevert today at 855-387-6466 to find a practitioner in your area to administer these FDA-registered medications. 855-387-6466.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
I'm Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Dr. Warden, last month when we were talking about homeopathy, you mentioned the company Hevert, and I happen to know that they offer a detox kit, which is one of their best-selling items. tell us about this detox kit and how it could help people if they do decide to buy a sauna.
Right. So, we talk about in naturopathy and in holistic medicine about opening the emunctories. That's all the detox organs of the body, the skin, kidney, lymph, lung, liver. And this kit allows all of those organ systems to be able to start slowly detoxifying and opening up. So what I have found is that if we start patients on that and they're doing infrared sauna, I see better effects. And so during the break, I heard the advertisement about Hebert, and I thought a good idea might be if our listeners decide to get a sauna and they decide to get it from me, I will throw in a month's supply of that Hebert detox so that they can experience the gentle homeopathic way of detoxing and have the sauna beside it. And I think they would enjoy that and get better effects just from each, just because they were doing both. And that's what I've seen in my practice.
Okay, so that's a fantastic offer. Wonderful, thank you. And we'll give details about how they can contact you for that towards the end of the show. Tell me first, what else can we do to detox? I mean, presumably we have to also be dieting. How much of that is involved in detoxing?
If we think about that, most toxins are stored in the fat. Yes, they go to other places, joints and so forth, but they really like to store in fat. That includes the brain and that includes fat in our body. So when we lose weight, sometimes you feel bad, and that's because you're dumping the toxins from the fat into the body. That's why making sure that these, what we call the emunctories, or these organs, are working well. So yes, part of detox is losing weight, because if the toxins can't store in the fat, they may be able to be more easily released from the body. So as you know, I'm a big fan of the ketogenic diet, and fat burns fat. We've hopefully educated our listeners well enough to know that the low-fat diet was a disaster. It didn't work. People got worse. They were high sugar, high carb. Fat burns fat. And so if we want to know if we're going into ketosis, get a device. Keto Mojo is the one that I recommend, because then that tells you, it looks at your ketones, your glucose, and you know if you're there. Now, you'll also know when you start losing weight, you start thinking better and you're feeling better. But the device allows you to do it right so that you understand what you're doing. So that's an important part, Sandie, is losing weight and looking at what you're eating.
I love the ketogenic diet. It really suits me. However, recently, it doesn't matter how much I think I'm sticking to it, I don't seem to be losing any weight. So if I combine that with something like a sauna, would that make a huge difference?
I think it would, but I'd also be saying, how are you testing to make sure you're in ketosis? Before we only had like urine strips and glucose and hope we were getting there. Now with the new device, we're able to know. So it might be that maybe you're not getting your effect because you're not as far into ketosis as you think you might be. And that would allow you to adjust your diet, exercise, stress levels, those kinds of things, so that you can get into ketosis a little bit deeper.
Interesting. Well, I've been using the strips, and sometimes they it's just a trace of ketones.
Right. And the body will go through that, Sandie. It's hard to stay in high ketosis all day long. Our patients that have cancer, obviously, I want them as high as I can get them for most of the day and night. But for most people, for all the other health benefits and weight loss, it's okay if we're in moderate and if we go down to trace. But if you're getting out of ketosis, it may take days or hours for you to get back in. And that's where being able to really measure makes a difference. It really does. So then we know if you're not getting the effect, is it because you're not getting the ketosis, or because, we've got another issue like blood sugar that we need to deal with.
So this device, Keto Mojo, where do we get it?
Yeah. Online. I have some in my clinic that I have for patients when we put them on it just for convenience. But they can go straight to the website. I guess it's Keto Mojo something, probably ketomojo.com. But they are a device that has been tested in Dr. D'Agostino's, his laboratory, and I trust him and what he does out of the University of Southern Florida. So when I looked into it, I called who I know, and they said, yes, it's a very accurate device.
Cool. So let's talk about other parts of the body. I mean, if we're detoxing,
right,
with a sauna, and we're on the ketogenic diet, is that enough to combat liver toxicity?
Well, I think it will be helpful, but what we're finding, Sandy, is that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So there's NASH, and that means it's become inflammatory. That, if the statistics continue to go like they are by the year 2020, the number one killer in America will not be heart disease and it will not be cancer. It's going to be liver disease. So I've gotten actively involved in this, and I've had a clinical. I'm putting together case studies. I've got 16 patients that I'm taking through in the last 3 months, some different therapies that we are seeing in the natural world. What do we have that might work with fatty liver? Also, stiff liver, which is fibrotic, and it turns into cirrhosis. These are very difficult, and if your liver's not working well, you're not going to detox well. Dr. Raleigh had mentioned, and it's true, that the skin is the largest detox organ, but after that, it's up to the liver. And if the liver can't help us, we're in trouble. And that's why I'm actively involved in learning more about the liver, and I'm excited that we have some new therapies that are looking extremely beneficial for the liver, both for whether it's stiff or whether it's fatty.
I've heard you talk about FibroScan, and I've heard you talk about injectables, especially injectable homeopathics, as we discussed last month. So how do they fit into this picture?
Well, the FibroScan is the way to diagnose. If you say, my doctor says my liver's fine and my blood work's fine, here's the problem with that. Once the liver enzymes have gone outside of range, once they're high, you could have lost up to 50% of your liver at that point. It's a little too late. So the only way we could really look at the health of the liver to see if it was fatty or if it was cirrhotic or turning into fibrosis was to do liver biopsy. Now there's a device called the FibroScan. There's no needles involved. It's a shear wave ultrasound that allows us to take 10 measurements, and we get a larger area to look at besides a biopsy, without having to go through the risk of the biopsy and the pain and the cost of the biopsy. So the FibroScan is what we can look at the liver and see. Is it fatty? What percentage? What stage are you in? Is it stiff? Are you in fibrosis? What stage? Or you were already in cirrhosis? And what's very exciting, Sandy, and I just met with the German company. I flew into Colorado for a key opinion leader with their team from Germany, and their scientific team is looking at it now in Germany to show them the results of what I'm getting with those Hevert injectables. It's called HEPAR, and HEPAR is for liver and biliary, the liver gallbladder. Well, the Germans have been using it for many, many, many years, but for a year and a half I've had it. Saw it working with gallstones and gall sludge, but when I got the FibroScan, I said, let me check and see what this might be doing with the liver now that I can really see it. And it's been no less than astounding, the results that we're getting. It really is. I don't use that term lightly. I mean, we've got the stats to show it. So I'm very excited about it and hope to launch a clinical trial soon.
Let's go back to those statistics at the beginning that you mentioned. I mean, it's pretty grim to think 1 in 4 of us have, heavy metals. I know for a fact that I've got them, but what about people who don't know if they've got them? How can they find out, and what can they do about it?
Right. Well, I think, and that 1 in 4 was by the Center for Disease Control. I think it's more than that. That's what we know about. It's not the matter of if you're toxic. It's a matter of how toxic are you. It's rare for me to find somebody who doesn't have too much lead or too much mercury or other heavy metals. It's rare. And the way we test it is with urine. If we test the hair, that shows what the body's excreting. That doesn't necessarily tell me where it's stored in the body. And if you're not doing a good job of getting it out of the body, which includes the hair, we may be missing the boat. But with urine, We give you an agent, a chelating agent that pulls it out of the tissues and out of the areas that it gets stored in. Now we can see that rise over the next 6 hours when you collect the urine, and now we can really look for those metals. And it used to be chelation therapy, whether it's IV or oral, was the only way we thought we could do a good job with heavy metals. Now we know a little more information about cilantro and chlorella if it's done right, but we also know now that it's found in that sweat, as Dr. Raleigh had said. That's why it's another good reason to think about an infrared sauna, not just for the solvents and the chemicals and all the other stuff that our body is holding on to, but those heavy metals.
Well, what about those people who can't afford an infrared sauna or don't have the space?
Right.
What do they do?
Well, that one, and I have this conversation with my patients all the time. I say by the time you've gone through several rounds of chelation, you paid for a one-person infrared sauna, and it doesn't take much room. You could put it in the corner of your bedroom. You could put it in your bathroom. You will find, or outside. They're very durable. So if you look at how much are you going to be doing, how much are you going to be spending on therapies trying to get rid of this, whereas you could be doing a lot more benefit for your body without so much of the stress that we get with chelation therapy with the sauna. So if they can't, then they're looking for a doctor, environmental doctor, those of us that know how to do this, and they're doing chelation therapy, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap in itself. So, we wish that our bodies did a better job. I just think we weren't designed to be exposed to these things, Sandy. Hopefully someday our DNA will get it figured out. But right now we know that we're hurting our genes when we're toxic. And when we detox, we're upregulating good genes and we're downregulating bad genes. So it's very important for us to think about, our everything around us, our air, our food, our personal care products. All those things, that's something they could do without buying a sauna. At least clean that portion up.
What about fasting? Does that get rid of toxins?
It does, and it's very good. So it allows the body a rest from digestion so that you're having to do that. It allows the body's own detoxification pathways to open up. Now, they're only going to go so far, but fasting actually helps you lose weight and that fat that we're talking about where it's stored. So there's many mechanisms of how fasting can help us with detoxification. It's just harder when we're talking about metals and certain things, certain toxins that we know are stored in our tissues, and it's very difficult to get it out.
Could the fact that you've got a toxic body actually stop you losing weight through fasting?
And I see that all the time, Sandy. We will have people doing everything right. We've got them on the right exercise for their genetics, for them. We've got them on the right diet. They're not cheating. They're doing everything, and they get stalled out. We've looked at their hormones. We've looked at everything. And that's when I say, halt, wait. I've looked. We've done everything we know that should be working. And when it's not, I say, next step, we really have to see how toxic you are. And that's usually it. So as soon as we get the toxins out of the body starts releasing the fat because it says now I'm safe to do it, because if the toxins are floating around in the bloodstream, it can kill you. So the body will say, I can't get it out fast enough because things aren't flowing well. I need to tuck it away. It's going to tuck it in that fat. So, yes, and it's not going to let go of that last fat pad until the body says it's safe to do so. So that is something for years that I have seen. So good question, and yes, if you're stalled and you've done everything else, you can bet that stress hormones might be part of it, and usually are, but you're probably toxic.
Okay, well, we don't have time to talk about emotional toxicity. We know there's a lot to be said there as well, but maybe in a future show. Before we wrap up, tell us where, how can people get hold of you if they decide they want to buy one of these saunas through you and get your free detox kit?
Well, they could go to my website, drwarden.com, but also info@drwarden, DRWORDEN, So info at drwarden.com will get .com will get you straight in the email, and the office number is 480-588-2233, and I'd be glad to talk to anyone if they have any more questions, just to help get them through this idea. But I'm a big proponent, and I really love it when my patients jump in, and they're very thankful when they do, to be able to do this.
Do you have any information about the saunas on your website?
I don't. My website's in the middle of being redone, but if they go to Clear Light Sauna, they're going to see all of that Dr. Riley talked about. Those are the saunas that I am a distributor for, the exact same saunas. I'm just offering, time with the patient to be able to talk to them a little bit more and give them a detox kit. But, as long as they're getting a good sauna, and these are the ones that there are a couple of other companies out there that I think are good, but I just think these guys offer so much more, especially that low EMF and all the other amenities that he talked about. I just think it's the best way to go, and no more expensive than the others. What I can say, don't buy the cheap one. You may be getting more EMF and more toxins introduced than you're getting rid of.
Thanks very much for that, Dr. Warden, and I'm really glad you introduced Dr. Duncan to us. Well, it seems that's all we have time for on the Truth in Medicine show, where our mission is to bring you the latest information, reports and research from leading-edge science and new integrated medicine. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer.
And I'm Dr. Donese Warden, and if you want to learn the latest about live the healthiest life and not fear cancer and other chronic diseases, join us on the last Thursday of every month. We plan to educate, empower, and enlighten you with information so new you may be teaching your doctor.
That's it. Goodbye from me.
And good health intentions from both of us.